Welcome to my channel. My name is Anthea. I am an Austin realtor with Phyllis Browning Company. And in today's video, we're going to be speaking with Katie Cullen, who is one of the partners of ATX Doulas. Let's get started. I wanted to talk to you about how did you get started and why did you choose this profession of being a doula?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to talk about ATX Doulas and what it is like to be a doula. So why I got started in being a doula is because I just have a really big passion for helping families throughout their pregnancy journey, labor and delivery, and then also postpartum. I'm a mom of 2 kids, and whenever I had my daughter back in 2013, it was just a really empowering experience. I didn't have a doula myself, but I needed one. And I wish I had one because whenever you are a first-time parent, you just don't know what you don't know about birth and pregnancy. And so after I had my daughter, I learned so much about all of those different experiences, and I wanted to share with as many people as I could. And so I was sharing with everybody that I could, all of my friends and family. And as my daughter got older, all of my friends' kids got older too, and they weren't having babies anymore. So after I had my son, I decided to work toward getting my certification to become a doula. And I started volunteering here with a local organization called Giving Austin Labor Support. And they help with folks that do not have access to doula support. They would otherwise be birthing alone, either in the hospitals or in birthing centers. And so the more folks that I volunteered with, the more that I realized that this is what I have a passion for. And so at the end of last year, at the end of 2021, I decided to leave my full-time tech job and become a doula full-time.
Yeah, and I know that when we met in the tech industry. I know when you were telling me about getting your doula certification, it came as such a surprise to me how much you do. For instance, I didn't know that there was such a thing as a prenatal doula versus a postpartum doula. So can you talk a little bit about what services you provide?
Yeah, definitely. So there are different types of doulas. There are prenatal doulas that just focus on the pregnancy part and birth, where they would help you during your pregnancy and then also be with you during your birth and your labor, and then stay with you for a little bit after you have baby, and then they're pretty much done and they no longer would support you. And then there's a postpartum doula who they assist you after you have baby, and they'll come to you at home and they'll help with all of the different things that you might need help with. It's really tailored to you and your needs. The number one thing that they really help you with is sleep. Whenever you bring a newborn home, it's really difficult to get that sleep because you're living in those cycles of feeding baby, burping baby, changing their diaper, and then trying to get baby back to sleep. And those are really 2 to 3 hour cycles, and then they wake up and you have to do it all over again. So sleep is really important, but they can also help with all other things like housework, whether it's laundry or dishes, meal prep. Wow. All of those other things that you might need help with around the house. And then there's also something called a full spectrum doula, which is what I'm certified in, where they can do the whole spectrum from prenatal, labor, and postpartum support.
Yeah, and I know in some of our conversations, you also help them navigate through the hospital administration, and you give them choices, they don't have to give birth in the hospital, they can also go to a birthing center as well, which was very surprising if you've never had a child. So I think that's wonderful. And for you, what is the one thing what's your favorite thing about being a doula?
Oh my gosh, there's just so many things. I love helping folks understand the different options that are available to them, because again, when you're a first-time parent, there's so many things that you just don't know about. Like you mentioned, there's lots of different options available for you to birth, whether it be a birth center at your home, a home birth, or in the hospital setting. And there's lots of pros and cons to all of them. So whatever option that you choose, we are there to support you. Like doulas, we don't put our own biases on you. We want to support you in your choices and what you want to have. So my favorite part about being a doula is helping folks realize what those options are, and then helping you advocate for yourself, teaching you how to empower yourself in that space, so that let's say you are in a hospital setting and you have a preference to have as much movement as you want, and you don't want to really be strapped down to the bed because there are all these different wires and cords that you're going to be used to monitor you. There are actually different wireless monitors that you have options to use, so we can help you talk through that and have those options available. So helping you advocate for yourself.
What has been your most memorable client experience?
Oh gosh, yeah. So every birth is unique and special because they all have their own twists and turns.
Right.
You can't really plan birth. You can have an idea of what you would like to happen. I'd say probably one of my most memorable births that has happened this year was at a birthing center. And it was a first-time mom and her partner. They were expecting a little girl, and I met them at their home. We really love to try to meet folks at their home first so that we can help them work through comfort measures whenever those contractions are getting a little bit harder to manage. Give them some different options, help with hip squeezes, or get them in the shower to use heat, help them get rest. It's really important to have rest early on in early labor because we don't know how long labor is going to be, so rest in the beginning is important. Well, I helped them to decide when to go into the birthing center. Usually it's the partners that they've got that little app on their phone and they're timing those contractions, and the app is always going to tell them to go into the birthing center or the hospital way sooner than you need to. So I was just affirming him and telling him that it's okay, she's doing fine, this is normal, everything is normal. So normalizing what labor looks like is a big part of what we do as well. But we made a plan, like the app was telling him it's time to go to the birthing center, and I was telling him it's all okay, deep breaths, it's fine. And then we made a plan, okay, how about when contractions get to this point, then we'll go to the birthing center. So we did that, and about an hour later, we go to the birthing center, and she was coping pretty well, but they were getting more intense. And we get there, and she was still in early labor. She was maybe 2 to 3 centimeters. But she was having trouble with the pain. And at the birthing center, there's only a few options to manage your pain. You don't have an option for an epidural. That's only an option at the hospital. So, but they do have some medications that they can give you. So they did give her some Benadryl to try and help her get some rest, and that helped for a little bit. But then things slowed down a little bit. Her contractions kind of spaced apart. So they actually recommended that she go home. And try to get a little bit more rest and labor a little bit more at home. And sometimes that happens, and that's okay, that's normal for birth. And so she did, and I actually went home as well because it had been about, 12 hours or so that I'd been with her. And so I went home and I got some rest as well. And then another 12 hours later, they called the birthing center and they called myself. I actually had to switch up my schedule a little bit, and we went back to the birthing center, and she was in active labor at that point. I think she was maybe 4 to 5 centimeters. And she was doing really great. The husband actually, he took some of the things that I had done with them before, and he was doing those hip squeezes and doing all the things that we had done before. So it really helped them get through that time where I was not with them. And while we were at the birthing center this time, we tried all sorts of different positions. She got in the tub, she tried, there's this thing called a birth stool, and the partner was behind her and supporting her. And then we also did a little bit on the bed where we used a rope. We call it tug of war, where she holds on one end and we hold the other end while she's pushing. And then she also got on the toilet. So all these different positions that we tried to really make more space for baby while she's laboring. And it's really great because as a doula, we're there to help guide the mom through these different positions and make space for baby, but it also helps the partner just be more available for the mom emotionally. And it's just really great to see that connection happen. So it was really sweet to see that through all these different positions, how the husband really supported the mom. So yeah, I think we were there for another 10 to 12 hours. And then baby was born on the bed. I think she pushed in quite a few different positions on her back and on her side. And the midwife was really great. She was like, you're really, really encouraging to her. And she was saying that she had a great support system around her. And she had a baby girl. It was an Indian couple, and it was really cool how they picked out her name. There's just a whole system behind how they did that. And yeah, it was beautiful. It's a beautiful experience.
I think one of my biggest takeaways from the story is that you mentioned at the beginning that they had an app. And the app was like, you need to go to the birthing story, but an app is all based out of AI. Like it doesn't have that it's not really good like on their feet where like you were able to reason and use common sense and all of your training to determine whether it was too early or not. And that's something that technology is never going to be able to
Well, it's just one tool, right?
It's one tool.
It's one marker for where they are in labor, but there's other things that happen as well. Like there's the intensity of the contractions. That's what we talk to people about a lot is how are you feeling? What are the intensity of these contractions versus a couple of hours ago? It's not all about the timing, and I think that's something in society that a lot of people just don't realize. They're only just thinking about how far apart are their contractions, whenever it's more about the intensity.
One of my really good friends just had her first birth in a birthing center with a doula, and she said it was an incredible experience versus having it without a doula. So that's awesome.
That's wonderful.
In your opinion, what are the top things that a mother needs to do in preparation for a birth?
So a lot of things go into preparing for birth. I think whether you decide to have a doula or not, you need to make sure that you have the right support system with you, whether that be your partner or family members or your provider, just making sure that they are all on the same page with what your preferences are. Because we see a lot of that whenever we're talking to our clients about what they prefer versus the providers that they pick. And sometimes those don't always line up, and that's really important that you have the right support system with you. So that's a big one. And then another one is just mentally preparing yourself for the unknown. A lot of people ask us like, how long is this going to be? When is baby going to be here? And everybody's different. We can't answer those questions. And also, labor is hard work, and preparing yourself for what that hard work is going to be like. It's hard work, and understanding that it's going to be hard work. Babies don't come out super easy. So just preparing yourself for that. And there are lots of different exercises that you can do while you're pregnant to get yourself ready for that. Also, preparing yourself for postpartum as well. Like we do all of this work for getting ready for pregnancy and for labor, and that's really important, but postpartum is equally as important. There's lots of folks that just don't know what to expect in postpartum, and then they get there and they have their baby and they're just really overwhelmed by how difficult postpartum can be. Because babies are hard work, and you've got this baby with you for the rest of your life now. And it really does take a lot of support to, in those first few months after having baby home with you, you need that support as well.
Awesome. I wanted to pivot a little bit and ask you about ATX Doulas, because I know that there are other companies out there that provide doula services. Why ATX Doulas?
Oh, that's a great question. So ATX Doulas is unique in the way that it is a team-based company, and we have doulas on our team where when you hire us, you hire the whole team. And what this does for our clients is it gives them a much larger range of information, and you will always have a doula that is well rested and ready for you. So what that means is whenever you sign up with us, you will have access to all of the doulas through email and text. You can come to our doula paloozas and meet us. We also have, those are through Zoom. We also have doulas in the park once a month, and you can come and meet us there in person. And that's how you can get to know us. And it's just really great. It's also great for our team members to make this a sustainable work for care work. Because whenever you're a solo doula, it's important that you have backups, but it's much harder to take on clients whenever you're a solo doula because you don't have that team environment behind you, right? Whenever you do get sick or something happens, you need to kind of scramble and get that backup. Whereas in a team-based environment, we have that team established already. So if someone does get sick or their child gets sick or something like that happens, we have that team developed already, so we can tap into that. So yeah, those are
Awesome.
some of the reasons why.
Yeah, and how do people find ATX Doulas? What's the best way to contact you guys?
Yeah, so we have our website, ATXDoulas.com. You can also email us at doulas@ATXDoulas.com, or you can contact us on our phone at 512-931-4404.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Katie. I had a great time learning about your business and about what you do, and thank you for everything that you do for the parents out there, because having a child and raising a child is not for the faint of heart.
Thank you so much.